TEVV gives enterprises a shared language, test components, evaluate metrics, verify requirements, validate real-world fitness. This AiQualtest episode gives product, engineering, risk, and quality teams a practical, vendor-neutral playbook for Genai Tevv Basics in 2026. Use a simple operating loop: test, evaluate, verify, and validate. That loop keeps conversations concrete when stakeholders disagree about quality or risk. Why this matters: many teams mix these words and skip steps. A clear TEVV framing aligns engineering, risk, and business owners. It scales from prototypes to regulated deployments. Enterprises shipping AI into banking, insurance, healthcare, and digital operations cannot rely on hallway demos. Buyers, auditors, and internal second-line risk partners ask for repeatable methods, version artifacts, and clear ownership. If you cannot explain how you tested and what evidence you keep, you do not have AI quality, you have optimism. Core concepts come next. Do not memorize jargon, operationalize each idea into cases, metrics, and gates. Concept 1: Test. Exercise the system with design cases to find defects. Focus on coverage and oracles. In practice, treat this as a measurable property: define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 2: Evaluate. Measure quality with metrics and scorecards across slices. Compare candidates fairly. In practice, treat this as a measurable property: define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 3: Verify. Check that specified requirements and policies are met. Trace evidence to shall statements. In practice, treat this as a measurable property: define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 4: Validate. Confirm the system is fit for the intended use in context. Involve real operators and outcomes. In practice, treat this as a measurable property: define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 5: Lifecycle placement. Map TEVV activities across design, release, and monitoring. It is not a single gate. In practice, treat this as a measurable property: define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 6: Evidence model. Store artifacts so each TEVV claim can be reconstructed. Assurance is documentary as well as technical. In practice, treat this as a measurable property: define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Here is a real-world pattern. Setting: medical software firm preparing a Gen AI feature for design control scrutiny. The team had lots of demos but weak TEVV language. They reorganized work into test packs, eval scorecards, requirement verification matrices, and clinical validation sessions. Gaps became obvious and were closed before submission. Reviewers could navigate evidence without hunting chat logs. Notice the pattern: define scope, run controlled tests, capture evidence, decide with named owners, and feed failures back into the next cycle. That is how AI quality becomes a system property, not a slide. Common mistakes slow mature programs. Mistake 1: Using eval as a synonym for the entire assurance process. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. Mistake 2: Verifying requirements without validating real user fitness. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. Mistake 3: Validating with anecdotes instead of structured sessions. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. Mistake 4: Losing the evidence that connects claims to artifacts. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. The antidote is discipline: small goal sets, explicit thresholds, change control, and monitoring that connects production incidents back to evaluation suites. Key takeaways for your team. Takeaway 1: Separate test, evaluate, verify, and validate deliberately. Takeaway 2: Place TEVV across the lifecycle, not only pre-launch. Takeaway 3: Trace verification to written requirements. Takeaway 4: Keep reconstructible evidence. Write these into your team wiki and release checklist so they survive staffing changes. Your next steps this week: map your current AI quality activities into TEVV buckets and find gaps. Then, create a one-page evidence index linking requirements to tests and evals. Keep the artifacts, prompts, datasets, scores, approvals so you can defend the decision later. Where this fits the AiQualtest method, learn the foundations with AiVELabs, practice with hands-on cases, and validate with governed evaluation evidence. Visit aiqualtest.com and learn.aiqualtest.com. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for weekly AI quality, evaluation, and governance episodes. Additional depth for practitioners: treat Genai Tevv Basics as a controlled experiment. Version the inputs, freeze the environment where possible, record who approved exceptions, and rerun after every material change, model upgrade, prompt edit, retrieval index refresh, or tool permission change. Pair quality metrics with latency, cost, and safety signals so trade-offs are visible to product owners. When results regress, open an incident-style review even if the feature still looks fine in a demo. Governed teams prefer boring, evidence-backed releases over surprising wins that cannot be reproduced.